Hey guys, how's it going? Well, today we're going to be talking about Russia, the potential invasion to Ukraine, and how that affects your economy and potentially the prices of crypto in general. So let's get started. Okay, so yes, it's been all around. You have been reading it on the newspapers online and probably watching it on TV and on YouTube. Everybody is talking about the potential invasion by Russia to Ukraine. So whatever happens next is going to potentially affect the price of crypto, and it's already been happening, guys. Bitcoin has not been able to rise back above 45,000 because of this. So we're going to be exploring what's potentially going to be happening, if whether this invasion will occur or not, and if it happens, how it will affect your economy, your finances, your crypto, and if it doesn't, how can you profit from this? So without further ado, let's go and follow my screen so we can discuss this. So here we are. This is the potential Russia war. How will crypto react? Let's explore. The first thing we need to know, we're going to look at facts. So we know that Europe needs Russian gas during winter, and right now we are in winter and it's really cold in Europe. So where does Europe get their gas? Well, Algeria fits Spain and potentially Portugal gas, but everywhere else, usually the gas comes from Russia. So, and we know this is about Russia and this is about Ukraine. What would happen if Russia stops feeding them gas? That would be dire for a lot of European countries. So where does the gas go through to get to Europe? From, Russia does not border with Western Europe or Eastern Europe by that, also. So, the pipelines that feed gas to Europe go through Ukraine. So now you kind of understand what's going on, guys. This is not necessarily about the Crimean Peninsula. Some years ago, some separatists from Ukraine that support Russia decided to split, and they wanted to go back to Russia, being Russian. While Russia did not invade directly, they did nothing to prevent this. So right now, Crimea is kind of somewhere in the middle of nowhere because the people who live there support Russia, but Russia has not invaded. Now, this takes us now to the present day. So that's another whole different animal. Right now, it's about where does the gas flow through, and it flows through Ukraine, and that is one of the main reasons why both Russia and the European countries are concerned about this potential war, and not only about war, but about geopolitics in general. Now, remember, guys, if it was just about Russia and Ukraine, your crypto would not be that much affected. Although there's a ton of mining in Russia, especially Bitcoin mining. That even the fact that they announced that they would ban crypto in general did not push the price down of Bitcoin that much. So the fact that they're going to war, there's potentially going to be a war between Ukraine and Russia, by itself would not affect that much the prices of crypto. But there's more things that need to be understood. So Ukraine recently announced that they wanted to join NATO. So NATO is a bloc of countries that jointly work towards their own safety against potential invaders. So if Ukraine joins NATO, they would have the support of a lot of countries, including Germany and the US and other Western European countries, against any potential Russian invasion. But right now, Ukraine is not part of NATO. They just announced that they wanted to do this. So now we kind of understand why Russia is concerned, right? Because if they, and of course they have expressed this, they want to control the resources that are in Ukraine. And these are not only gas resources, there are also military resources. I think most, if I remember well, most nuclear bombs that the Soviet Union had are based in Ukraine. So now you're kind of understanding the geopolitics. Now, we're going to go a little bit deeper and see how this affects Bitcoin, your altcoins, and finances in the economy in general. We do know, and these are all facts, we know that NATO, this bloc of countries, Western European and the US, are not too friendly to Russia. So while they haven't entered in a conflict, they are not friendly either. So there's conflict in there, right? Not military, but there's, friction. Another fact that we know is that Russia could threaten to stop feeding gas to Europe. So Europe in winter without gas, that means there's going to be a lot of dead people, potentially worse than a war between Russia and Ukraine. So they don't want this to happen. And if the European countries support a war, against Russia, Russia can say, well, okay, we're going to stop feeding you gas. So the economies of European countries, now we're talking about a whole different thing. The economy of Germany and France are one of the largest in the world. So whatever happens to their economies will potentially affect everyone else in the world. Another fact, Biden is facing a popularity decline, as you can see in the charts on the right. So most Republicans, of course, they do not support Biden. Some moderate Democrats have not been supporting Biden as of recently, according to these polls. And the main issue here is that midterm elections in the US are coming in November 2022. So that's a few months ahead. So Biden has a decline in popularity. How does this play into everything? We'll see in a moment. This is just citing a fact. Now, guys, let me make this clear. I am not a US citizen. I do not live in the US, and I do not care about left or right wing. I just want to know what's going to happen with my money, with the economy, to know what to do, right? If I'm going to lose everything I have invested in altcoins, in Bitcoin, I want to get out soon. But if this is going to go up, I want to get early. So we'll see. Now, another fact we know is that war always gains US presidents more popularity. As we can see here, this is just a picture I grabbed from the internet. According to them, Donald Trump did not enter into war. I don't know. I'm not entirely certain of this, but I do remember all of the previous wars, including George W. Bush, who said that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And of course, there weren't, right, guys? But the sole fact that he went to war made him more popular. But not only that, the economy of the US went back up, because once they go into war, there's a lot of money being pumped that go back into the economy in the US. So if the US goes to war, two things happen. The first, the president will become more popular because people will no longer focus that much in the conflicts, the internal conflict, but in the conflict outside, the enemy outside, which is a common enemy. And the other thing we know is that their economy could go back up. And right now, the economy of the US, this is another fact, is really in the dumps. So another fact we know, Biden announced that the invasion by Russia to Ukraine is imminent. Imminent means it's going to happen anytime soon, like tomorrow potentially. That's what he said. That's what the US left-leaning media is actually replicating, saying that again and again. And this is just a fact. I have no opinions right now. We're going to get to my opinions in the next slides. But right now, this is just a fact. He announced the invasion is imminent, and he also announced that the US will militarily back Ukraine if there should be a conflict, and which is imminent. So while this war is not affecting the US because it's a conflict between Ukraine and Russia, and potentially between Europe and Russia because of the gas, the US says we're going to get involved. Why would they get involved? Well, this is just an assumption, but we already know what's happening to Joe Biden's popularity and the economy of the US. So, still facts. Another fact, President Zelensky, which is the president of Ukraine, he actually said, we are not in a hurry to enter a war. And we're not entirely sure that that Putin is about to invade us. So hold on to your horses. Let's explore some more. That's what he said. Another thing we know is that Germany said they are not interested in going to war with Russia. Now, why is this important? Because Germany is part of NATO, and it's one of the most influential countries of NATO. So if Germany says, I will not vote for NATO fighting against Russia, potentially NATO will not go into war with Russia, leaving just the US and Russia in conflict. That's a whole different kind of war, guys. Another fact we know is that Putin said he's not planning on invading Ukraine. Now, here's the thing, guys. We know politicians are not the most honest of people. So one thing is what they say and another is what they do, which brings us to another fact. Russian forces have been gathering near Ukraine's border. So there's a lot of Russian forces near the Ukraine border right now, which sums to Biden's opinion that Russia is about to invade Ukraine. Now, Vladimir Putin has been saying this is just a drill, and of course they want to defend themselves. We're going to get to my opinion, but right now they're just placing pressure, right? They're just putting a lot of military there, kind of saying if you US Army decide to go forward, I'm not afraid. Here's a ton of tanks and fighters and everything else. Those are facts right now. So one thing that is really important is to understand who suffers and who benefits from a potential war. This way of thinking was very important in the times of Rome. So this is thousands of years old. If you want to get to the bottom of things, ask yourself who benefits. So before we get there, who suffers the most if war should ensue? One, of course, Ukraine, guys. Every country that has a war is torn by it. So Ukraine has a lot to lose. They do not want war. And while the US says, we will support Ukraine, Ukraine says, I don't want a war. Of course, Germany would suffer a lot because they are one of the main beneficiaries of gas from Russia. So they would have a lot to lose if war would happen. And NATO as a group would suffer because Germany is a big influential part of NATO. So the bloc might suffer divisions. And of course, any other country that is surrounding the war zone will suffer because of the supply chain and a lot of other things. And every other European country that needs gas from Russia would suffer too. So this is the most important question, and this brings us to what will happen with our money, with our crypto. Who benefits if there is a war? Well, you might already have an answer, but the US military complex will benefit because they depend on war, right, guys? This is why they build tanks and airplanes and they prepare soldiers, because if they go to war, they get more money. So these are one of the main guys who will benefit from the war. Russia will benefit only if they win, because if they lose, the popularity of Vladimir Putin will suffer a lot, and of course the economy of Russia will go down. If they win, that's another scenario, and then it would benefit them. But Russia today is not the Russia of the 1980s. It's much less powerful. And here's another thing, that really interesting thing that we need to consider. Right now, China is the only country that could enter into a war with the US and potentially win. We don't know if they're going to be winning, but they are the strongest military after the US. They are also the strongest economy after the US, if not already the biggest economy in the world. They're about to be, and many people say they are already the biggest economy. So if they support Russia, Russia would win. If they support the US would win. I don't believe they will support the US because they are in a commerce war. But it's not in their benefit also to support Russia. So right now they're keeping quiet, and we hope that it stays that way, because if they do not get involved, something good might happen. who else benefits the US economy? Because as we know, every time the US enters into war, the economy of the US goes back up. And right now, the US economy is really bad because they have been printing thousands and trillions of dollars. And that's really bad for their economy. The inflation is through the roof. People are angry at Biden because of the inflation, because of the mandates and a lot of stuff. So, of course, there are always supporters of Biden. But right now, the economy in the US is really bad. So it would benefit a lot if they went to war. And of course, the popularity of Joe Biden would go up because instead of people left or right or libertarians or whatnot, instead of focusing on what's going in the US, they would focus on the enemy outside, which would be Russia again. So if a war would happen, these people would benefit. Now, let's get to my opinions and what I think is going to happen to the economy in general and to crypto. What are the probabilities of things happening? I don't believe that NATO will go to war because we know that Germany and other European countries will suffer a lot if Russia stops feeding them gas. So if these economic powers don't go to war, then crypto will be affected in a certain way, and we're going to be discussing this in a moment. I believe this is going to be turning into a war of words. It's already been a war of words recently. There's been no attacks, and it will stay this way. Potentially the war will be extended. Putin will say one thing, Biden will say another, Ukraine will say, I'm going to be staying out of it. I don't want war in my country. European country will say, we don't want war either. So it's going to be a war of words. These wars are fought in the media arena. So this is why it's so important, whatever CNN and MSNBC and even Fox, what they say against or for war. But it's not going to be, my opinion, it's not going to be real shooting or real bombs. So the economy will go down while this war of words happens. Because what happens, guys? People who invest money, especially large institutions, feel unsafe investing in risky assets while there's a war going on. So they would rather invest that like in the military industry, right, guys? Because they know the military industry will go up and potentially Bitcoin will go down. So if big whales like these institutional investors take their money out of crypto will go down. Now, another thing I think will happen is that Russia and the US will eventually settle and find an agreement. Will that benefit Ukraine? Potentially not. They're going to be the most affected, but that will end the war of wars eventually. Now, I could be wrong, guys. I'm not a tarot card reader, but according to all the facts we know, this is the most probable, in my opinion, set of things that will happen. And here's the interesting thing. Once the war of words is over, because all wars come to an end, even wars of words, the economy will jump back up. So right now, money is being pumped into the military industry. So that's already benefiting the economy of the US. If the US economy goes up, crypto will go up. And once they declare this war is over and we're friends and we're back to normal, the economy will go back up even more. Now, how does this affect your crypto and my crypto and everything else? And this is my opinion, not a financial advisor. Crypto will suffer when the war of words sours. So while Putin says, I hate the US, and the US say, I hate Putin, and we're going to go to war, and I don't care about peace, this will have a consequence of crypto going back down. It will start with Bitcoin and then altcoins. So in my opinion, what I will going to be doing is looking for opportunities to buy crypto because we know the war will be over, especially if it's a war of words. So there's a lot of bargains, guys. L1s are really cheap right now. I'm already looking into VeChain. VeChain is right now around 5 cents. It used to be 10 cents. It had gone all the way up, if I remember well, to 17 cents. So that's potentially a 2x or even a 3x at some point. But there's a lot of bargains right now. L1s are the ones that most probably will go up the sooner after Bitcoin. And once the war comes to a close, if the economy improves drastically, crypto will go up drastically. And that's when either if you want to hold, you can keep holding, but you bought cheaply, or if you want to sell and make a profit, when the war of words is over, it's going to be a good time to do so. That's my thoughts, guys. Don't take my advice. I'm not advising you to do anything. That's what I'm going to be doing. I don't expect this to be a full war. If it happens, then we'll have to do a different analysis. But right now, everything points to, this set of people and countries that will benefit just by the impression that there's going to be a war are already benefiting from that. And people suffering are kind of hoping there's not going to be a war, and there's really influential countries not wanting war, including Ukraine. So I think, guys, this is enough information for today. I think that this is a good time to buy crypto, find bargains, look for L1s if you're interested about this. And once this war ends, there are going to be a ton of opportunities to make a profit. This is my opinion. I hope this is really educational and informational for you to make your own decisions. If you like this video, do like it on YouTube and subscribe to this channel if you want more information about how to make money in the bull trends and the downtrends. See you next video. Bye-bye.